Welcome back to Y2K. We're gonna get on our way out this old dusty town.
Your enthusiasm is infectious tonight, my friend. But, we'll see what we can do, right?
I guess so. So when we last left off, we were still trying to get into the building with the locked gate, right?
Yes, or at least we got a good look at it.
Yes, we did. I looked very, very hard at it. Unfortunately, the gate is still locked tight. When I was going through editing, I happened to notice this other gate here.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately, it is rusted and won't budge, which, that means somebody's got a key or someone's holding out on us.
I will say this, it certainly nails the white picket fence aesthetic, but the whole idea that there's a difference in those gates is a bit daunting to me.
It's sort of good, bad, and the ugly mixed with Norman Rockwell, and I'm okay with that.
It's a look. Again, if this game has anything going for it still at this point, it's the fact that certain elements of its aesthetic are kind of alright.
Yeah, I actually think this is a pretty neat look for the game. I wish the rest of this game was as... Well, I think pretty is a strong word, but I like that it has a clear feel that it's going for.
Yeah. Also, do you check those gravestones at any point?
I don't. What is... Oh man, this man is oscillating very, very fast.
Yeah, I don't know what alcoholism does just from a glance in this game, but that was quite a vocal sample.
I don't think alcoholism causes people to break out of their rigs.
I mean, I've heard of a slight twitch, but
this is something else.
This is something very different.
Naturally, because the game has no sense of timing, it gave me the happy battle music for this.
Yeah, I was thinking, what exactly is this free jazz nonsense happening in the background with these weird vocal samples?
I don't actually know. I wish I could say. This drunkard has quite a bit of robustness.
Again, these are some very tanky townsfolk we have to deal with, and, what was this place called again?
Windtown.
Windtown.
So he's used his AoE attack, which is a pain in the ass to dodge.
Yeah, again, the fact that the targeting actually slowly accelerates through that whole sequence is, well, I can see it, even if it is at a consistent speed for the entire game, being something very difficult to handle.
I think the idea is that it's supposed to make time energy a finite resource, because you want to use it every time that you get an AoE. It kind of makes you choose, I think, who you're willing to let take a potential hit. Except that time energy isn't that good of a way to help mitigate those hits, because again, when you press the time energy button, it completely changes your perception of how fast it's going. That was something that you point out last episode, I think.
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, It's a case when I was looking at this and looking at the things like the level up system, where the more you think about it with these games, the worse it kind of gets.
Pretty much. Every time I come back to thinking about how the mine dungeon works, I think, oh my, if I wanted to get to level 100, I would have to go through 400 doors, each of 3 screens.
Oof.
Anyway, we just got the Mancer fence key, so that's cool.
Very nice. As far as my overall impression of this game is concerned, I think what I'd have to describe it as, and if I were to put it in a single pithy statement, is this game's about 20% of a good idea.
Gosh, that's so good. Can I rename the thread title?
If you would like. But yeah, no, because again, the idea is that there are certainly small bits and pieces of this that are kind of inspired, but it only got as far as that initial idea and then just kind of fell apart
I
because
guess
of
this is the place.
a variety of factors, either a lack of effort or the
So,
fact that
do we
the
just
idea
knock?
wasn't consistently good throughout.
Let's give it a
Oh,
try.
hey, talking of lack of effort, did you notice that when they flipped
Worst comes
Alex's
to worst,
sprite,
you
they
still
also
gonna
flipped
make
the
'em
t-shirt text?
I did not.
I just noticed that.
Who are you guys?
I'm Alex. I come from the internet.
Oh, we have a new character.
Yes,
One sec, come in.
he's very blonde.
So hey, yeah.
I thought this
I'm
was a
Rory,
hood at
but
first,
You probably figured that.
but
much
then I
out.
realized his hood is under his...
If not,
head
why would I be
helmet.
letting you into my room?
Yeah.
Anyway, what are your names?
I kind of appreciate the opening
I'm
line, I
Alex.
come from the
This is
internet,
Bella and
but,
Michael.
you know,
No,
don't
I mean,
try
what are
and
your
confuse me
screen
into
names?
thinking
That's how
you're
I know
charming
all
all of a
these, so
sudden,
that'll be
Alex.
more beneficial.
Oh, I'm SNES Man 99. I think that's the first time I've had to say that out loud.
So that answers that
Michael
question.
Is Terraformer, and Bella isn't cool enough to go on the message board.
Bella's the coolest
Aren't you
one
that girl?
here.
Yes.
The one from Winway
Bella
87's
is
post about the girl who
significantly
was ripping
cooler.
up holes in reality in his town?
So I'm also seeing something with the
I
all caps
am,
text that was
but
pointed out
don't
earlier in
believe
the thread, and I
everything
think
you
we
read on
also
the
mentioned
internet.
in episode
You boys
1.
take that
Don't we
stuff
just
too
hate the
seriously.
text alignment in all of this?
Hey, I invented lines
Yes,
on the internet, so no need
everything
to
is
warn
just
me.
slightly
Hey,
off
oh
on the
my.
text. Like that V. Look at the V. The V is
I
one
need you
pixel
ripping a hole
down.
in my basement with your mind powers or whatever the hell it is you do.
Well, then just remain on my good side. So, Rory, tell us about
Yeah,
your
and I'm getting
sister.
this vibe
When
of
did she disappear?
trying to do what Killer 7
sister,
did, where all the text
she
kind of
vanished
shifts
about 3
around
weeks ago.
slightly under
Went to
certain
school one day,
circumstances.
left school, and
But that makes
I was
sense in
gone.
Killer 7 because it is a trippy
No
game.
crazy elevator video of her either. She's just gone.
Oh, did your
Though,
parents get the
admittedly,
police
if we were
involved?
trying to read wiggly text through
No,
this whole thing,
my
I'd
parents aren't exactly what
probably
you call proactive.
say, yeah, now this game is about
They act the types that
15% of a
jump to
good
their kid's
idea.
defense when they're
Do you think it would be okay if we talked to them?
No, that wouldn't be okay. It's complicated.
I see. Well, who else knows that she's missing? This is extremely serious. A teenage girl goes missing, and someone needs
Also
to be
noting
doing
this kind
something
of
about it.
discrepancy between the
Yeah, but it's
the
yeah.
visual novel
Okay,
style
you're
portrait
right.
and the
Where do we
portrait
begin?
of Rory, or rather the character model
my
of
sister
Rory
Carrie
himself on
started
the
acting weird a few months
overworld,
back.
because
She was
as
having
you
trouble
can
with
see
some
from his
girls at
posture in
school,
the
after
visual
she
novel
began.
portrait, he's kind of very stiff and
So one day,
his body's
things get
very
really
tight in
weird
on
when
itself.
I find her in the attic.
Whereas he seems quite a bit
She was
more
holding some of her
relaxed, and you
baby
can kind of
toys.
see his hair
Stuff that's
flapping
been
around
boxed
in
up
the
for years.
non-existent wind when he's on his overworld
I
portrait.
asked her what she was doing.
That
and
is
she said
actually
she
a good
needed
point, and I hadn't
gifts.
noticed that before.
Gifts for kids
But I
who
think
had
the
less
world,
than she did.
well, the world
then she
models
left.
have, they're
She took
missing
7
just
things
enough
with her.
frames
After she
to
vanished,
be
I went around looking
like
for her,
stiff and
I found her toys
disjointed.
scattered everywhere.
I don't know if that's the point.
Anyway, the weird thing is, each place a toy was found, an accident happened there shortly after. One of the toys
With
was
the
left at
NPCs,
an
it seems like the
underpass,
quality
and the next
varies
day,
pretty
a kid was
tremendously,
killed in a
and
car
with the
hit.
PCs, I'd say there's some pretty
And I
big
know that sounds like a
discrepancies. Like,
coincidence,
for instance,
but
I
then
would
at a
say
train station,
Alex kind of
a woman
looks
was
okay
robbed,
in
and
his
the guy who
visual
grabbed
novel
her purse
portrait,
ran into
but
the
his
tracks and got hit
in-game
by,
model is
not the
not
train,
great,
but a
I
cop
don't think.
car
There's
that
something
lost
about
control and
sort of
plowed
how
in.
his eyes look with the glasses.
Anyway,
it's
this
kind
old lady
of
had a heart attack
really
and died
thrown
the next day
off.
at the grocery store,
And,
right on top
you know,
of a
Vela
sewage
looks
tap where
alright,
another
Michael
toy had been
looks
found.
pretty consistent with
You
his
can't tell
character
me all that
portrait.
is a
Rory's
coincidence.
just a case where it looks
Did
fairly
anything happen
different
to
from
you
one to the other.
personally when you went to these locations? Were you the one who found the toys?
Yeah, to both. But okay, let's just go to the places. I think it'd be best for me to show you myself.
So after that, we got Rory.
And a monologue. I know.
Oops, they forgot to voice this one.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, so Rory is a member of our party. I got stuck on the gate here for a minute.
That's fine. This game got me too just a minute ago, as you can.
Oh no, a
Oh.
discount Starman. I assume that's intentional. I just don't know what it's doing here. Rory is our quiet boy with a troubled past, I guess.
At least he's our level.
He is our level. It seems like whenever you get people, they're at your level, which is a nice feature.
Also, his weapon is open your eyes.
Yes, and at first I didn't know what that was, but we'll get to it.
All right, my guess is that it's a copy of that
I have this
Spanish
theory
language movie
about
that Vanilla
physicality
Sky
and
is a
the nature
remake
our
of.
universe. It has a lot to do with the temporal nature of our
I thought
bodies.
Vanilla Sky was just kind of awful. I didn't know it was based on
Basically,
something.
I think we
It's
all
based
have
on a Spanish
set
movie
number of days to
called
be in
Open
our
Your
bodies,
Eyes.
and they usually end with our bodies being destroyed. But sometimes, very rarely, we leave our bodies without dying.
Rory, I'm starting to see why you hang out on this conspiracy
What
theory
exactly
board.
happened here, Rory? What makes you say this?
Okay, forget that for now. I can't explain it right now. Let's continue the tour.
He starts to explain it, and then he can't explain it.
I can't explain it, even though I was just explaining it.
Okay, so the Discount Starman hanging around in the background like that is, you know, it's definitely something that lends a bit of intrigue to this nighttime setting of the actual city, but
But nobody acknowledges it.
yeah.
It's just there. Look, it's literally in the center of the
composition
frame.
the human body can be looked at from the point of view of either mass composition or atomic composition. The adult male human body is approximately 57%.
Meanwhile, Rory is sitting here
Water
being
is
like the
11%
mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
67%
This game
of
becoming
atoms.
Parasite Eve suddenly would be the best thing to happen.
Most of the mass of the human body is oxygen, but most of the atoms in the human body are hydrogen atoms. What we love to forget is the soul when we talk about our makeup. I don't really believe in souls in a religious sense. I like to think about the soul as our mind.
Okay,
Have you
so
ever imagined what
he
it would
wants
be like
to
if we successfully
refute
performed a
Cartesian
brain
dualism,
transplant,
I
but when the
guess.
person woke up, they were
That's
exactly
kind of
the
what
same?
I'm getting from this.
Like, the brain is a physical part of the conscious, but the moment it's in a new body, the old soul.
So I don't
brain
mind
or
characters that go
whatever
off into
enters back into the body and
psychological
poof,
or
we're back to being
metaphysical or
ourselves.
philosophical
Do people
ramblings.
really know that
but
the brain contains our
Again,
thoughts?
we've just met this guy.
Yeah, and before you tell me about the
He's
science
literally,
behind
well,
it,
he's
I know
very
you-
trusting, I think.
just
That's
think
the
about this from
idea.
time to time.
Is that like he's just literally telling
You're
us
a bit off on both the
everything.
science and metaphysics, but you're onto something.
Vela didn't shoot him down. She didn't mock him.
Thank you for pointing that out, Alex.
My
I
head, the
couldn't have
rational
figured
part
that
of my
out.
brain was already thinking of a variety of corrections to his ideas. But after
As
this
we've
week,
established, you can't exactly be
knew pretty much
wrong
anything
when
was
it comes to
possible.
metaphysics.
Yeah, it was point out actually in the thread that
Okay, let's go to
nobody
the next
wants
spot. I'll try
metaphysics
there.
as an idea because nobody can figure out what metaphysics is and what it's not.
It's a matter of problems with definition. Something that also plagues the phrase postmodernism, because in a lot of ways it's trying to get a consistent definition, especially out of academia or something like this, is just
Sometimes
asking
it
for
feels
trouble.
Like my sister is still in her
I
room
don't know what the
upstairs. And I
postmodern
don't
part
mean to
of this
suggest
is,
that I
except
forget that
maybe
she's
that it
there.
took place after World War
It
II.
goes beyond that. There are times where I feel like she's physically there. Like, in the same way I can feel my foot is attached to my leg without actually having to touch it with my hand. But she isn't here right now.
I
There is
kind
one
of
place
like
we
the
can
Dutch
check.
angle here.
Let's go back to the overpass.
A Dutch angle is nice when it's motivated by something. I guess if we're trying to illustrate here that Rory is taking a walk with these people he's just met as his kind of final steps off the deep end, then maybe.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. It seems like as we're going around, Rory is kind of becoming increasingly unhinged, and that's what the Dutch angle is supposed to represent, but I don't know. Maybe I'm giving this game too much credit.
I think it ought to appreciate that you're attempting to give it as much credit as you are.
Yeah, I'm being very
This is
generous in
right.
this thread.
I think I can do it here.
So am I.
Okay, someone lift the sewer cap with me.
You want to go down there?
So Alex's
Yes, I
annoyance
think that
would
would be a
normally
good
be
idea.
kind of off-putting, but this does
Boys,
tell me that
give
we're
him
going
a
to be
hand.
doing an RPG sewer level, and honestly, do you remember a good one of those?
The depths from
Okay,
Dark
so
Souls.
What I'm about to say might sound crazy, but I can prove my theory down here. I think my sister's soul is down
Well,
here.
I guess
so
it's, I
let's
guess
look
that's memorable, so yeah, that is what I asked
Rory, I think you might be a bit...
for. Thanks for that.
Okay.
Called your bluff.
This will be fine. Let's look for her. I just
like
want you to
all
prepare
RPG
yourself
sewer
for
levels, this one
what
is
you find down here might not be-
remarkably spacious.
Whatever, but I know it's her.
Apparently Rory's sister is down here, which is great. I'm kind of hoping at this point they don't rip off it.
Well, what I'm a little more concerned at with the general aesthetic of this place is that they're more going to rip off a Nickelodeon game show at some point. the fluorescent...
This is very slime green, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and the purple on the pipes is kind of evoking that kind of visual flavor, as it were.
Oh yeah, yeah, I
And-
guess that's true.
And there's something about the fact that this sewer level is apparently lit by very bright, all-encompassing fluorescent lighting. But hey, enough of that. Let's go into the mine dungeon.
Again, I love coming here. I love how many screens I have to go through to level up Alex in particular. I love that we get to talk to our friend Marlene about whatever he feels like talking about.
I don't know if it's a good or a bad... Well, let's say it's maybe a mixed blessing that it seems that Marlene doesn't talk at all, at least doesn't say anything beyond, oh, if you wish to level up, give me 100 XP.
Except for that time he gave us a full-on monologue about the librarian while we were between floors and couldn't escape. Y'all were saying in the thread to do all luck all the time, and that's what we're doing.
Excellent.
I don't know why I'm doing this, but I figure Alex can't possibly get any worse, so what do I have to lose?
So there was something I read about some of how the mechanics for this game work. I believe Combat Lobster actually brought it up in the other thread, which is just that your chance to score critical hits in this game is just your luck stat. So...
Oh, wow. Okay. Like, as a percentage?
Yes, so...
Holy shit.
So, bringing your luck up to 50 or what have you, then hey, every other attack's a crit. If you're able to get it into the 80s or 90s, then just watch the crits roll in.
I think I'd gone through and crunched the numbers here for like Fire Emblem, where you can get like a 50-60% crit chance fairly easily if you know what you're doing with certain units.
Yeah.
I think it turned out that that was about the point where it started falling off. Same with League of Legends. There's like a lot of math out there about how crit chance works, at least as far as your overall DPS goes.
And I'll give it this, I appreciate when a game kind of makes certain aspects of its mechanics fairly upfront and straightforward like that.
Yeah, that's a really nice thing that Fire Emblem does, and to this game's credit, it seems like that's where it's kind of going. All the numbers are relatively small. They don't hurt your brain super bad to try and compute. So this is actually a really interesting skill Rory has. You can swap his current HP and PP values, which is great because, as you can probably see, he's got way more PP than HP.
I sense a gimmick coming, and that means that once again we're going to see, you know, the 20% of this being a decent idea, and then the cliff he falls off of after that.
I think that's probably what's going to happen. I'm still trying to figure out, like, how certain characters scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if some are better early game than late game. Michael just seems like a baller. Michael seems like our MVP so far.
I don't know, I think Vela's still doing it just in terms of raw damage output, and to be perfectly honest, even if it is poorly named, Combat Lobster did have a pretty solid point about the fact that Panda just straight up rendering the entire party immune to attacks for a round is pretty decent as far as defensive options in an RPG goes.
Yeah, for 5 PP, that's a payoff I'm willing to take, so you can probably expect me to be making pretty heavy use of Panda Barrier, especially because it apparently glitches out once in a while and still goes for like 2 or 3 turns.
As advertised?
Yeah, as advertised. It's a low bar to set, but yes, as advertised.
this game.
Okay, so we finally done our level ups in the mine dungeon. It only took us 5 minutes, because of course it did. Next episode, we're going to be diving into the sewers for real.
Oh joy.